head up north and let's talk about the one and only Minnesota Vikings. Guys, welcome back to the contender or pretender. Remember, we shift through the smoke, dig through the injuries and matchup, and ask if his team is playoff caliber or just pretending to be. Let's turn our spotlight onto the Minnesota Vikings. Guys, if you are a Minnesota Vikings fan, your heart has been in your throat lately. Why? Because your starting quarterback, JJ McCarthy, has been missing the last 2 games, including Sunday's nail-biter 24-21 loss in Pittsburgh and Dublin. The early reports are still a high ankle sprain, could cost JJ McCarthy a couple more weeks. Head coach Kevin O'Connell still remains vague. Day to day, we'll see where he's at. Little in the way of a firm timeline. So here are we, guys. Can the Minnesota Vikings weather the storm with backup quarterbacks, Carson Wentz and whoever else they might bring in? Because let's be honest, Carson Wentz isn't it right now. Or is this the beginning of the breakdown? Guys, let's start with we already working against the Minnesota Vikings. They got Cleveland this week and London and then a bye. That gives them a little bit more breathing room before their meat of the schedule. But after the bye, things get brutal, things get real. You play the Philadelphia Eagles, you play the LA Chargers, Detroit Lions, and then the Baltimore Ravens. That is a gauntlet for any team, let alone one missing his presumed leader at quarterback. Now, JJ McCarthy should be back at that particular time, but there's going to be rust, there's going to be a little growing pains, and when you get hit by the Philadelphia Eagles, you may not last that game. No matter how creative the defense is, led by Brian Flores, gets or how resourceful the Vikings have been working with backup options under Kevin O'Connell's system, this stretch is no joke. And it's just not the quarterback position under pressure either. The offensive line has a mess of injuries. Brian O'Neill went down with the sprained MCL. To be determined how long he is out. Ryan Kelly is in concussion protocol. Donovan Jackson, left guard, is still dealing with the wrist recovery and has been unavailable. That means JJ McCarthy, whoever's under center, will be under pressure from the jump. ESPN reports that JJ McCarthy was already seeing heavy pressure in the 2 games before the injury, aka the offensive line sucks. One stat that jumped off the screen at me when researching the Minnesota Vikings is the Minnesota Vikings get sacked on 14% of their pass plays. So 14% of their pass plays, they are getting sacked. Guys, that is dead last in the NFL. Matter of fact, that is historical bad. In the last 20 years, no team has broken 10%. The Vikings are at 14%. When protection breaks down, even a top-tier quarterback gets exposed, and right now the offensive line is going through trial by fire. Given all that, here are the red flags saying that Minnesota might be more than pretenders than contenders right now. Obviously, the uncertainty at quarterback. With the JJ McCarthy and then the Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz, this is all limbo. This is dangerous when the schedule tightens up. Now, we've all heard the Kevin O'Connell system, any quarterback, yada, yada, yada. But the truth be told is right now, JJ McCarthy is not very good. Carson Wentz is not very good. I see the Minnesota Vikings fans right now wishing they had Sam Darnold in their landscapes right now. But the truth of the fact is that the offensive line is unstable. Losing key linemen means their passing game is going to be inconsistent. Stacks will mount, rhythm will suffer. And then post-bye gauntlet, Eagles, Chargers, Lions, Ravens, it doesn't forgive for mistakes, especially without your starter. The Vikings are banking on their system and their coaching to max talent gaps, a.k.a. Carson Wentz is not very good. But in the postseason, that usually isn't enough. Even if they slip during that stretch, it could be still a collapse, but hopeful beginnings of the end. But before we bury the Minnesota Vikings like I did last season, guys, let's acknowledge the reason why they still deserve the benefit of the doubt. Under Kevin O'Connell, he signaled his trust in his backup to handle the pressure, and that will keep the ship afloat until JJ McCarthy returns. The schedule gives up a moment, right? This London game, then their bye, gives the Minnesota Vikings time to regroup, manage their recovery, and recalibrate before be facing tough in that tough stretch. Defense and coaching does matter. Brian Flores can scheme up pressure, disguise coverages, and force turnovers and take some heat off that offense. The Vikings can stay in the games while the quarterback situation sorts itself out. Guys, Brian Flores is a really, really good coach. He's a really good defensive coordinator. Let's just say that. What was that? That was weird. Guys, but here is where I land. Right now, the Minnesota Vikings look like pretenders. The injuries are piling up, the schedule is vicious, and the quarterback situation is shaky at best, even with JJ McCarthy at the helm. I'm not closing the door quite yet. They have some tools, they have the coaching and the framework to turn this into a comeback story. But if JJ McCarthy returns and he's not ready, they are done. I said this last year and I'll say it again. The Vikings overachieved last year, and this overachievement is coming to bite them in the ass right now. But what do you guys think, Man Hour Nation? Are the Vikings in survival mode right now, creeping their way back into the contender status, or are they just making gaps until something else breaks? Guys, let me know in the comments down below. Who's riding with Minnesota, or who is else looking elsewhere? Hit the subscribe button, guys. Hit that bell and share this live, as we're live every Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. East Coast time. With that being said, let's jump into the comments and see what you guys are talking about. George Lucas says JJ McCarthy is trash. Well, he actually says QB is trash. So that could be Carson Wentz. That could be JJ McCarthy. That could be them trading for Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins or Jameis Winston. Like, whoever the quarterback is, he's trash. Which is tough. Because, like, Carson Wentz had such a good MVP run there, and then he tore his ACL or whatever it was the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, and it sucks for Carson Wentz. But JJ McCarthy, I think, is trash. JJ McCarthy, I think, is overrated. JJ McCarthy is going to be the biggest what-ifs of all time, I think, right? Actually, no. He is going to be a bust. At this point, put Desmond Ridder in and call it a day. Desmond Ridder can at least give the ball to Jordan Addison or Jetta or Naylor or a little bit of TJ Hawkinson, right? Or just give the ball off to old Aaron Jones. Actually, no. Aaron Jones is on the IR now, right? Jordan Mason. Give it to him. Give it to him, give it to him, give it to him. Alpha Rob says they are pretenders. Good wide receivers, no quarterback. Alpha Rob, you were here when the Minnesota Vikings fans last season came at my neck. You were here last year when I said the Vikings will be one and done in the playoffs after they, won 13, 14 games in a row, and they were balling there. And I said, look, you guys got cracks. You guys got cracks. You have receivers, and that's about it. Yes, the defense was a bend, don't break defense. Keep everything in front, whatever, yada, yada, yada. I get it. But when you look at the Minnesota Vikings offense right now, it's Aaron Jones being on IR, JJ McCarthy doubtful till after the bye week, Jetta and Jordan Addison and Adam Thielen are your only weapons. Jordan Mason had a pretty good season last year, like a little bit, right? I mean, he wasn't jumping off the screen by any stretch of the imagination, but it is tough if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, because I got to say they are pretenders. Right now, I got to say they are pretenders 100%. I am with you guys. Now,